Hi everybody, I'm Tina with Phoenix USA RV, and today we are going to show you how to empty your gray and your black tank. And we're also going to show you how to do a tank flush, which is a pretty important maintenance item that you'll want to do probably every 2 or 3 times after you've emptied your tanks. So on every Phoenix Cruiser, the access to the controls for the tank dumping is on the rear driver's side of the coach. You have this full access panel here. So once you open this up, you can clip it here so that you can work in this area, and then you can see your gray and black tank pumps and your hose. And this pretty much has everything you need to dump your tanks and do your tank flush. Okay, so before we get started, let's talk a little bit about what we have going on here. You've got both of your controls for your tanks to open and close the gray and black tank. You also have the pump switch. These 3 items are what you're going to use for emptying your tanks. Then you have your 2 valves here for your tank flush and your water intake here for when you're doing, that's what you would hook up your garden hose to when you're doing your tank flush. This button here is for your outdoor shower, which in this coach happens to be right here. It has no functionality as it relates to emptying your tanks or doing your tank flush, but we house the water pump switch, here, so you can conveniently turn the pump on when you want to use your outdoor shower. Okay, so now that we have your access panel open, the first thing you're going to want to do is release your hose from the clamps. And then for this purpose, we're going to empty into a bucket, because obviously we're at the factory. You might be emptying out either at a dump station or your campsite, and so that's when you want to make sure that the end of your hose is over the dump site. So, because as soon as you take this cap off, potentially something might come out. I'm actually going to remove the cap with the end of it facing upwards so I don't have any surprises. I want to make sure I put this cap where I will find it. So I like to put it right there in the little cubby of the compartment. And then now I'm going to put it down into the bucket. So the thing you want to remember is you always want to empty your black tank first. So in this case, you've got your, you're going to open the tank up by hitting the black button here upwards, and the red light is going to flash, and you're going to hold it until it, you're going to hear when it stops, that it's fully open. So now your tank is, the black tank is completely open, the red light's flashing, so whenever it's open you're going to see that red light flashing. And now we're going to turn the pump on. And before I turn the pump on, I'm going to let you know that you're going to let the pump run until you're going to start hearing a little bit of a difference in the hose, and you're going to start seeing the hose expand and contract a little bit. So pretty much done. You can tell that the hose, which was a little more expanded when we started, is a little more contracted. So now we're going to close the black tank. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to open the gray tank. And again, the reason why we want to do the gray tank after is because now that we've run the black tank contents through the hose, we want to flush it with the gray tank fluids. Kind of clears out that hose a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and turn the pump on. Okay, so now we've emptied the gray tank. We're going to close it up. And so we have just successfully emptied both tanks. Before you pull the hose out of the dump site, make sure to grab your cap and put the cap on. just in case there's any residual fluid in there. You don't want to surprise. And then we're just going to put our hose back in the little storage area. And that's it. So we've just emptied your tanks. You're going to empty your tanks depending on your usage as frequently as you need to. You know, we recommend that probably every 2 or 3 times of emptying your tanks, you go ahead and do a tank flush. And so we're going to demonstrate that also. This couldn't be any easier. You can just use a standard garden hose. The access point right here, you just take the little cap off, and this actually happens to have an on-off switch on the hose, so once I hook it up, I'll be able to turn the water on. But we'll go ahead and hook the hose up here. Currently, our tank flush nozzles are in the upright position there, so nothing's getting in there until I open those up. Let me get this on there. There we go. So I'll get that on so it's fairly tight. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the water on. And just out of habit, I'm going to start with the black tank first. In this case, it does not matter what sequence you use, but it helps me remember, just like when I'm emptying the tanks, to do black then gray. So I'm going to do black then gray when I'm flushing also. So I'm going to go ahead and open the tank flush valve and just let it run. And there's not necessarily any rule of thumb, maybe 1 to 2 minutes. And as this water is flowing through the tanks, there is an adapter, I call it an adapter inside the tank, so that as the water sprays into the tank, it's shooting water on all sides of the tank. It's gonna clear the tank monitor sensors that are inside the tank, because as the tanks fill up and there's dirty water and waste in there, it can kind of clog up the sensors. So if you flush the tank periodically, it'll help keep those sensors clear, and then your tank monitor readings will be more accurate. So that's probably good enough for this demonstration. So I'm going to close that up. So now I'm going to go ahead and open the gray. And so kind of just imagine the inside of your tanks getting a nice little shower, essentially. Okay, so I probably only did it, maybe a minute on each side for the demonstration, but it just depends on, typically you're not doing this unless your tanks are empty because you just dumped them. So you don't have to worry about running it too long and filling your tanks because you're starting out with them already empty. So now that we're done here, I'm gonna shut off the water and disconnect the hose. So now that you've flushed water through the lines and into the tanks and did a little car wash there, depending on what your next steps are, if you're going to put the coach away, maybe store it, you want to go ahead and finish emptying the lines. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick so that this coach is ready to put away. All right, so that's about it. So we've shown you how to empty your tanks, we've shown you how to do a tank flush, and it doesn't get any simpler than that. If you like this video, please hit like or subscribe and watch for more content from Phoenix USA RV, and thank you so much for watching.